Giridvaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Giridvaradhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Amuspa Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Gopal ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava ki Jai Ramacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktamani ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giri Godhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to the Krishna Prabhupada. All glories to the Vaishnava devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. Prabhuji, Matajis. Today is a new month, October 1st, and it happens to be Wednesday. If you had read or seen it, the flyer, you would have seen that His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj was the speaker. Maharaj couldn't be here because of his travels. So I believe His Grace Salika Prabhu will attempt to do this special service of short notice to speaking. So I think we have two verses to cover today. Salika Prabhu. So if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and you may start speaking. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And my targets for being here.
Hare Krishna, Sadi Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam. Narayashaivam Narottamam. Devi Sarasvati Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nasta Apraisu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttaman Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God in Narayan, unto Narayan, which is the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasa Devi, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. by regular attendance in classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of God that who is praised with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. So welcome devotees to this Gregorian New Month calendar date of the 10th month in the year 2025. I was chatting with someone this morning, and because I've had several good morning, happy new month, so I chatted him and said, good morning and happy new month. He said, which month are you referring to? The person was in Ethiopia, and he said, well, I've celebrated a new month some few days back, not today. And that is the relativity of this material world. So, but for the purpose of this conversation and this forum, we're working with the Gregorian calendar. So happy new month to all of the devotees. And we wishing each and every one of us a Krishna conscious filled month of October, the month that leads us into the most auspicious month, according to the Bhagavad Gita, the Kartik month. I think in about a few days, we'll be starting the Kartik for this year. And it's a memorable one for me because my pre-Krishna conscious life, I didn't know what is a Kartik month. But in this month of October/November, while I was still serving as a prophet, I have a vow for 40 days fasting without eating any cooked food. I'll fast through these 40 days. And then somehow, when I joined Krishna consciousness, when I came to realize the beauty of the month of October, November, I started wondering, maybe Krishna saw some of my austerity I was performing there in the month of Kartik unknowingly. So he decided to draw me closer. So as we are meditating on entering the month of Kartik, the month that leads us into the month of Kartik, I'm praying that our known and unknown service in the matter of studying the Srimad Bhagavatam will yield the fruit that will draw us closer to Krishna. And hopefully, by the grace of the spiritual master, we might leave this world and never come back after this body. So today we're discussing text number 23 and 24 of the third canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that chapter is talking continuation of the appearance of Lord Varahadev. So we'll read the Sanskrit text and try to discuss few points in regards to Srila Prabhupada's purport. Iti mimam satastasya brahmana sahasurnubi bhagavan yagya purusho jarga jangedra sam ibha. Iti mimam satasya brahmana sahasurnubi bhagavan yagya purusho Jarga Jajendra Saniba. Translation. While Lord Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of God at Vishnu roared tumultuously like a great mountain. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears that great hills and mountains also have their roaring power, because they are also living entities. The volume of the sound vibrated is in proportion to the size of the material body. While Brahma was guessing about the appearance of the Lord's incarnation as a boa, the Lord confirmed Brahma's contemplation by roaring with his gorgeous voice. text number 24. Brahmanam arasaya am asa aristanscha dvijotamam swagal jindena kakubaha pratisvanayata vibhu. Brahmana asha. Oh, sorry, I wanted to recite it twice. Brahmanam ashayam asha aristanscha dvijotamam swajajitena kakuba practice vanayata vibhu. What for translation? Brahmana. Unto Brahma. Ashayam Asha. Enliven. Ari, the personality of Godhead. Tan, all of them. Cha, also. Dvija Utamaha, highly elevated Brahmanas. Swagajitena, by his uncommon voice. Kakubaha, all directions. Practice Vanayata, which echoed. Vibhu, the omnipotent. Translation. The omnipotent supreme personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Purport. Brahma and other enlightened Brahmanas who know the supreme personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of his multi-incarnations. The appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as a mountain-like boar did not fill them with any kind of fear, although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed audibly in all directions as an open threat to all demons who might challenge his omnipotency. Omagyanam timirandasya gyanam gyanam shalakaya Shaksho militam jena tasmai Shri Guravi Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kada Mayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagajatam Saganam Rajnatam Tam Sahajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganam Lalita Sri Visha Kavitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gobisha Gopika Kantarada Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangira Devinda Vaneshwari Brishabani Shute Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Mukankaroti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Giri Yatripatam Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Vanchakarpataru Vyascha Kripa Sundubhyasivascha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So Lord Brahma said, while Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of God, a vision, roared to mountains like a great mountain. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of God had enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, with echo in all directions. Hare Krishna. So once again, we welcome us to this Srimad Bhagavatam discourse. And as we've had in the beginning, we're discussing from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13. We're treating discussing text number 23 and 24. The subtitle of the chapter is discussing the and activities to the appearance of Lord Varahadev, the Lord in his Boa incarnation. So, begging for the mercy and the blessings of the Vaishnavas, I hope I will be able to say something in relation to the two texts that we're discussing. When I started, before reading the verse, I started mentioning about some life experience. And the purpose I was sharing that is that as I was looking at the verse, as we're about to start the class, I'm seeing something very uniquely, very important, which borders around knowledge. There's a saying that each and every individual living beings are the product of what they know. And there is no doubt about this. In the development of human existence, in any field of activities, there are 4 stages that leads to human evolving to any level of life. The 4th stage of human life, of course, as the scripture says, out of millions and billions or trillions of living entities that were spread across the universes, majority of them, greater percentage of them, do not know who they are, what they are, where they are, what they are doing, what they should be doing. So they are less than human beings. Because according to the very scriptures, the beginning of a human life is when one comes to that understanding that Aham Brahmasmi. Unless one comes to that human platform of life, there is no meaning to education or knowledge. It is simply ignorance, which is grossly depicting the life of a lower species of life. And that is why discussions and topics about Srimad Bhagavatam is not meant for neophytes. It is not meant for those who are struggling with the first 3 stages of evolving in human life, and Maya, Manamaya, struggle for existence of the basic symptoms of human existence: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Because the cats, the dogs, the fish in the water are all doing this very nicely. So when you go to the social world, what they call social, actually, this is not social life. Sometimes ago, I was discussing with a lady, I think that was in Rwanda, and that lady, when he met me, was talking about, we were in a 5-day engagement together, and he studied me carefully for 3 days. And at the end of the 3rd day, he called me to a reception seat and he said, "I've been looking you from afar, and I wanted to ask, what is your social life like? Because I see that you don't eat what everybody is eating. When at the end of the day's activity, everybody is socializing, you're not there. So how do you live a social life?" And I was explaining to her. I said, "What do you mean by social life?" He said, "Well, we eat what they call it, kebab with wine, and then we gist in the evening, and we talked about sex life, party life, but we don't see you, you don't come. Once we finish the days, you disappear." And I was wondering, how does this man live a social life? How is his social life like? And I laughed. And as I was telling the lady, I said, "That is your definition of social life?" He said, "Yes, because social life means that eat, drink, marry, gist. That is social life." And I asked her with respect, I said, "Man, will you promise me you will not be offended if I describe my definition of social life? And she said, please go ahead. I'm inquisitive. I'm curious to know. That was about 7:30 in the evening that day. And I said to her, I said that which you describe as social life is animal life, from my definition. Because what you're describing, the tigers, the dogs, the goats, have all of this in their own categories. And I was using proper definition. I said, you're sleeping on the bed, live, you are eating meat. Like I said, animals are doing all of this very conveniently. I said, social life for me begins when I start thinking of myself beyond what people think I am. What I understand to be myself, the spirit soul who is living inside this body. And we went into a conversation, and that conversation went into about almost midnight before we had to depart. So when I was reading this text, what was coming to mind is that Prabhupada started the purport, interestingly. And when Prabhupada uses this kind of phrases, it appears that great hills and mountains also have their roaring power. So Prabhupada is speaking to what people's perceptions are. Srila Prabhupada knows that the mountains, the hills, are all living entities. They are living entities that are beating this, because Srila Prabhupada is educated enough to know that there are 8,400,000 species of life. And in each and all of these species of life, the living entity stays inside all of them. So Prabhupada is using this phrase. He said it appears. When Prabhupada uses the word it appears, Prabhupada is speaking to the level of the knowledge of his listeners, of his readers. So a man is a product of what he or she knows. Just like my beautiful friend, she was thinking, that was life. And as I said earlier, there are 4 stages of what define who we are in life. Everything, anything at all we can think of. One has to be enlightened to be able to, that is the beginning of human life. Human life starts when one becomes enlightened. And that is why in the tradition like that of the Buddhists, they call themselves the enlightened one, because the beginning of Buddhism is all about Aham Brahmasmi, just like in the Vedic tradition or in Krishna consciousness. And that is why when Lord Krishna, when he was speaking with Arjuna, when Arjuna was talking about contemporary subject matter like war situation, he was talking about family life. Arjuna was talking about religiosity. Arjuna was talking about duty. And Lord Krishna was busy laughing at him. Lord Krishna was not laughing at him because he was considering Arjuna to be less than a human being. But he was laughing at his foolishness because Arjuna was acting in that capacity of ordinary conditions. So although Arjuna is Nara and Lord Krishna is Narayan, but in that play of drama, to bring this knowledge to me and you and the whole world, Arjuna was playing that role of an ordinary person. He was talking about the circumstances around war, religiosity, duty, family ties. And Krishna was laughing at him. So Krishna begins, he tells Arjuna, he knows me yata de hey kaumaram yofanam jara tata de entra. Why is Krishna talking about this? Because until when one comes to this platform of understanding, Aham Brahmasmi, there is no life. Human life is not existing. Whatever it is either gross animal life or polished animal life. There is nothing like human life there. It may be polished, just like the way the ants eat and engage in mating, defending, is different from the way the cat does theirs. The way the cat does eating, mating, defending, and eating is different from that of the goats. That is different from that of the lion. And each of these species of life have different moderations. There are some living entities that they do not engage in sex twice in their whole life. It is their level of enlightenment. But real human life begins when one comes to the understanding that I'm not this body, I'm Brahman, I'm spirit soul. Only then one can understand, because when the Lord was responding to Lord Brahma, it is only for Brahma, and that is why in the second test that Papa was explaining in the purport, Brahma and other enlightened Brahmanas who know the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of his form of incarnations. We read in the Bible when Lord Krishna was to appear to Moses, when he was to engage him in his service, he doesn't know whom he was talking to. And he has to ask questions. Who are you? He said, I am who I am. And he said, okay, at least let me see something. At this level, Krishna could not manifest himself. So he showed him in the form of light. But still, Moses was not convinced enough to be able to. He said, okay, I've seen this. Maybe this miracle of light coming out from nowhere, I can relate to it because it's extraordinary. Pharaoh and others we not know. So I need something to show. And according to that narration in the Bible, the voice spoke to him and said, what is in your hand? He said, I have a rod. He said, put it down. And it turned into a snake. It became alive. He said, pick it from the tail. It becomes a rod. And said, that's your staff of office. So you see in Christendom, at different denominations, they carry a staff. But sometimes they don't not understand what it signifies. So living entities are of different categories. So the first stage of existence is when one becomes enlightened. And enlightenment is a misused word when one does not know what is the soul. When we talk of enlightenment, when we check the definition of the word enlightenment according to English dictionary, when we check English dictionary says that the action of enlightening or the state of being enlightened about what? This is the limitations of English language. And in a further explanation, it says, European intellectual movement of the late 17th and 18th centuries emphasizing reasons and individualism rather than tradition. It was heavily influenced by the 17th century philosophers such as Descartes, Locke, Newton, and its prominent figure, Kant, and is given an example of what is enlightenment according to the Englishman's dictionary. But that is not enlightenment, that is foolishness. Enlightenment, real enlightenment is when one comes to know, I'm Brahmasmi, I'm spirit soul. Because that is where knowledge begins. One who does not know who he is, how can he know other things? I was reading a post, I don't know whether it's one of our social media or something. Somebody was asking a question. He said, I've become so matured to the extent that I have every reason to question my Christian doctrine. He said, according to the Genesis, God did not create the sun until on the third day. So if there was no sun, no light, so how is time existing before that time? Because according to Englishman calculation, all calculation of time begins with the sun, movement of the sun and the moon. And a Catholic priest asked me last week Saturday, he said, Salika, wait, I enjoyed whenever you come. What is your explanation? He said, I was asking this in the church the other day, and everybody was looking at me. He said, recently I started reading, And I was asking the Catholic priest, Archbishop, that you said, according to the Bible, Adam and Eve are the first beings. But I'm asking the question, he asked a question. So, but I'm coming to realize, because I started reading the Ethiopian Bible, and I came to realize that the Bible that I'm reading is a conditional Bible. And when I started reading the history of the writing of the Bible, I started becoming confused. He said, "What do you know what my Archbishop told me?" He said, "You have started listening to strange people." So enlightenment begins. Ability to understand, to know certain things is based on the level of enlightenment. And this begins with the soul, understanding of the self and the soul. And beyond that, when one goes beyond that level, it is that knowledge of understanding that prompted Arjuna. When Krishna told Arjuna, you're not this body. And Krishna described, for the soul, there is no birth, there is no death. And in the conversation goes forward, Arjuna asks questions. So if I'm not the soul is not that, does not die when the body is dead. And Arjuna was asking further questions. So one is able to understand deeper understanding about God and his activities only when one gets enlightenment. In the purport, the Papa says, the appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boa did not fill them with any kind of fear. This is another important one. The whole world is acting based on fear. I was discussing on a panel program recently, and because Nigeria is preparing for, today is the Independence Day of Nigeria, and then we're discussing 65 years of Nigeria's existence, the level of development. And was talking that when Nigeria took independence and comparing with other countries that took independence at the same time, the level of development is different because Nigeria's corruption level is so high. And someone was asking a question after so many speakers have spoken. He said, what is this thing that makes people to engage in corruption actually? I don't know. And people will started giving different reasons, greed, and not being satisfied, selfishness. So I stood up and I said, no. All of these are secondary reasons why there is corruption. The primary reason for corruption is fear. Because the fear of sustenance makes people to engage in so many things, in so many ways. And we see that even in the stories in the Mahabharata. The story of Risha Singha, who was to be brought for rain to fall. When we analyze this story and several other stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Mahabharata, and in other Vedic scriptures, we've seen that most of the atrocities are done because people become enamored by the symptoms of fear. Because the zeal for survival is an inherent thing in every living entity. The desire to enjoy is not something strange. The Bhagavatam says, Ananda Maya Biya Sat. It is a natural inclination for wanting to enjoy. So the wanting to enjoy is not the reason for engaging in corruption or any sinful activities.
It is because the living entity is afraid. So Lord Brahma and his enlightened Brahmanas here are not afraid when they saw the sound. When we look at the wars that is all over the place in our world today, all of these wars as a result of fear. The American government is accumulating so much of ammunition, so many of chemical weapons. And when another country develops a chemical weapon, they bounce on them because they don't want them to develop, because they believe if they also have the same power, chemical weapons, then they are threats. So the need for defending, Prabhupada will always say, the cat tries to defend itself by its nails. And the big countries like America, Russia use chemical weapons. There's no difference. It is the tendency for defending. Out of what? Out of fear. Fear of eating, sleeping, mating, defending makes living entity in the material world to engage in all kinds of atrocities. But when one is self-realized, when one becomes a Dvija Brahmana, he no longer has any cause for fear. Why is he not afraid? Because he knows things as they are. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, Sadhu Prabhu, can you put up the verse? Chapter 13, text number 14 and text number 27. Let's read text number 14. I hope I'm correct with that reference. Lord Krishna is explaining the living entities due to the influence of the three modes of material nature.
Can you please repeat the verse?
Chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 14. Let's start from 13. Let's read 14 first, then we'll go to 27 afterwards. Yeah.
13, 14.
Yes.
Or 14, 13.
13 is 13, chapter 13. Chapter 13, text number 14, yes. Thank you. Go. In the purport, I want to, I'm trying to get something, okay, stop. Aha. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance is not conscious, that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage. His thinking is contradictory. When living entities come to understand, when he comes to know, immediately he realizes that whatever he's thinking is contradictory to the reality. Our conception, our perception of things. I was discussing with someone before the class, and he was narrating somebody's complaint to me. And when he was asking me, she was asking me, and I was wondering, I said, how can somebody even think about this? But that is his assumptions, because he doesn't know the reality. Let's go to that text number 27, the verse after Mam Chayo. There's something also relating to this there. Because our understanding is completely faulty. So out of fear, we are thinking the other person is going to come after me. So then out of fear, we start creating so many weaponry to defend our sense gratification. Yeah. And the text first. O chief among the Bharatas, know that whatever you are, whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Thank you. Let's go to the purport. Prabhupada said in the purport, both material nature and their living entities, which are existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created but a combination of the living entities and the material nature, there are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills, which are not moving. And there are many existences which are moving. And all of them are but combination of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. This is what Prabhupada is saying in the purport here. Without the touch of the supreme nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between the material nature and the spiritual nature is eternally going on. Let's go to the last sentence of the purport now. Yeah. He is the controller of both the superior and inferior nature. The material nature is created by him, and the supreme nature is placed in this material nature, and thus all living activities and manifestations takes place. So when one does not have this understanding of the nature of the supreme personality of God, then it creates all kinds of disturbing situations around himself and the people around him because of fear. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Lord Brahma and the realized Brahmana, enlightened Brahmanas, we are not afraid, because when the mountain was roaring as a result of the roaring of the supreme personality of God, they could understand what it was. So they were not afraid. But the living entity is always constantly in fear because of what? They do not know what next. So Srila Prabhupada said, although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed audibly in all directions as an open threat to all demons, who might challenge his omnipotency, because that roaring of the Lord was intended not for everyone, but for those demoniac persons. But those who are not, they become afraid. I was watching a documentary recently in a bridge. There was a bridge. Which country was it? Can I remember the bridge? There is bridge construction going on. And all of a sudden, there was a mistake. The bridge was collapsing. And I was watching the scenery of that bridge collapsing. And people started running. But what was amazing in that video was that is related to this is that almost 2/3 of those who were running under that bridge. Instead of running apart, because they are afraid, they've been captured by fear. And instead of first looking up what is going on, which is the nature of the enlightened person, instead of them to look what is happening, then they know what to go for. Because they were already captured by fear of the sound of the cracking of the bridge. They all run under the bridge, and the bridge collapsed on all of them. Very, very, very difficult thing to watch. But when I was looking at this, I was just thinking in my head how the living entities are dying every day. Everyone in this material world, all are running, just like Lord Krishna told Arjuna in his universal form. Everybody in the battlefield of Krishna was running into the consuming fire of the mouth of the Lord. But they thought they were doing something very wonderful. Every living entity in this material world is running towards their own death as a result of fear, ignorance of the identity of the self. So this is why when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, Prabhupada could speak so many wonderful philosophy, and even some of his god brothers misunderstood Srila Prabhupada because they were thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada didn't give advanced knowledge. Because in every of the purport of Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada would refer to the nature of the living entities, his original identity. Because the moment someone comes to self-realized person, immediately all problems are solved. And that is the focus of an acharya like Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's focus was what? To bring everybody to the platform of a Brahmana. He said, my duty, my primary responsibility, I want to make each and all of these boys and girls to become a Brahmin. Because when they come to that level of enlightenment, they then know what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, where to go, where not to go. Unless and when one comes to that understanding, and that is why in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of Krishna speaking to Arjuna, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, now I've spoken I've spoken to you. Now you decide, what do you want to do? Krishna never told Arjuna to do anything. When he was teaching, he was giving several instructions, what to do, why you do this, what you should do this. But at the end of the conversation with Arjun, Lord Krishna said, now you've heard from me. Now, O sign of Bharata, decide what you want to do. This indicates that even Lord Krishna will not force you or me or anybody to do anything. Our activities will be decided by us. And when someone says that when someone dies, he goes to hell and goes to heaven because Yamaraj or Satan or Angel Gabriel or whoever in whatever tradition send the people. I said nobody send anybody to jail, even in the material world, not to talk of hell. Lord Krishna or the angels are not having the business of sending anybody to hell. Each and everybody sends himself to hell or heaven according to his own choices that has been made based on the level of enlightenment that the person has. Because at the end of all forms of knowledge, the only thing that Krishna will ask is, so what do you want to do? And each and every one of us on a daily basis, we're choosing what we want to do. Almost 5 years, we've had this Bhagavatam class, and online, you will see at each and every time, someone asked in one of the classes some times ago, he said, this is West African Yatra, Hare Krishna Africa. He said, but it's amazing. How many Africans are here? When this social media was created, it was meant to give solution, to help devotees to be able to stay connected with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, which is the source of liberation. But how many people attend these classes? Everyone is too busy. And someone asked me, I referred the YouTube channel to somebody in one of the organizations I work with. And he said, I watched the few of your series online, and I saw that there are always few people on your Zoom. How many African devotees do you have? And when I quoted a number, I said in Nigeria alone, we have initiated to be on the conservative place. We have initiated about 10,000 devotees. In Ghana, almost the same number. And in other West African countries, maybe you can say between 500 and 1,000. He said, but why is it that Hare Krishna Africa, I see on your Zoom channel, only about 15, 20, at most sometimes 25. I said, well, many are called, few are chosen. So the journey back home, back to Godhead, is not anybody's decision. It's Krishna doesn't even decide that for you. Each and every one of us decide based on what we are enlightened in. Lord Brahma and the enlightened Brahmanas here are acting on the capacity of what they know. And the foolishness, the greatest foolishness is for someone to not know and to think that he knows. When one does not know and he thinks himself to be a knower, then it's a greater problem. So as we read these verses, going forward, we'll be seeing the transcendental beauty of Lord Varaha's appearance. But how can someone imagine God to be in the form of a boa? How can you tell an ordinary person? And that is why these preceding verses are talking about this. And that is why Srila Prabhupada is directing us towards the importance of knowledge, the importance of what we are enlightened about. Because to understand the activities of Lord Boa as an incarnation of God is only for those who are enlightened. And that is why Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita that one who knows the nature of this appearance and activities of mind, when he quits this material body, he will not come back here again. But how can one know when one does not have knowledge of himself? So one has to become an enlightened person. And that is why Srila Prabhupada has created the movement. Srila Prabhupada said it in several purports. I've created this Krishna consciousness movement to train young boys and girls to become a Brahmin. Because when they actually attain the platform of a Brahmin, then they can become a devotee. And because they are a devotee, they will go back to God. But the good thing is that we don't have to struggle to become Brahmanical by our own endeavor. That is the beauty. The goal is set. At least come to the plan. But how do you become a Brahmin? One who chants the holy name of the Lord, even under the instructions of the spiritual masters, becomes purified. And that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Cheto dapana majanam, Cheto dapana majanam bhava mahadavagni niriva apanam, Sriya Kairavasta, Chandrika Vitaranam Vita. That your holy name alone, the English translation says, oh my Lord, your holy name alone, no, that's not the verse, that's second stanza. Cheto dapana majanam bhava mahadavagni niriva apanam. What's that English translation? This is what we read every morning. That's how conditioned life is all about. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying in the first stanzas, the holy name of the Lord, like the sun, shines and brightens and illuminates and destroys the ignorance of the conditioned souls. Your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In this transcendental name, that is second stanza. I'm trying to remember the first stanza. Does anyone remember that stanza? Yeah, the English translation. I remember the. Yeah, glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated death and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So we don't have to struggle to perform austerities. The glories of the holy name is enough to raise us from our ignorant conditional state to the platform of a liberated soul. So ultimately, once you come to that platform, and that is why Srila Prabhupada gave the same process. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But as the second stanza says, unfortunately, we're not attracted to it. We just need to chant the holy name. And Krishna will take care of all of the rest. And that is why you see that the moment someone stops, even when it takes to the process of Krishna, the moment somebody stops, when somebody starts having challenges, go and check the person's chanting. Then immediately you will understand. Someone asked La Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you're already a liberated soul. Why are you chanting? And Prabhupada answered, the beginning, the middle, and the end of Krishna consciousness is chanting the holy name. Because the Satatam Krita Yantumam, and Srila Prabhupada quoted that verse, Satatam Krita Yantumam, the nature of the pure devotees is that they are always glorifying the Supreme Personality of God. Satatam Krita Yantumam. Their nature is that they are always glorifying God. In the beginning of devotional service, you are requested, chant the names of the Lord. There is not too many things to do. Just chant the holy name of the Lord. Even the four regulative principles comes after that. Because the power, the empowerment, to be able to follow the regulatory principles is dependent on the quality of the chanting. One cannot chant the holy name of the Lord without the mercy of the name of the Lord himself. One cannot know Krishna unless Krishna enters through the heart of the soul. Tisham Ivanu Kampantam, Aham Agyanam Jantaman. Nasayam Yatma Bavastu, Gyana Bipena Baswata. I dwell in the region of the earth. I would destroy the ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. Krishna knows where the problem is. So he said, I'll put my shining lamp of knowledge there. But that can only come through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And that is why it is reverberated all over the three worlds, all over the traditions, all over the religions. And that is why the scripture says, Arainam, 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 Eva Keva. Kalau nasty, Eva nasty, Eva nasty, Gati, Hanyata. In this age, there is no other solution. And Sukadev Goswami, he told Parishit, Kalau doshani de rajan astiye ko mahaguna kitanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangat paramvra jade. Ocean material Kali Yuga is such a very deadly time. Even when you are intending to do good, bad things will come your way. As much as you try to become a devotee, you want to follow regulatory principles, you want to do something, so many circumstances will come that will make you not to want even to be able to focus. But there's only one solution. Kitanat Eva, Krishnasya, Mukta Sangat, Paramvrajit. So Lord Brahma and the enlightened Brahmanas were not fearful, hearing the advent of the Lord in his roaring, because they were enlightened. They know they are not this body, a spirit soul. And the duty of the soul is not 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. The duty of the soul is only one thing. Satatam Kritayanto Mam, constantly chanting the glories of Krishna. That is all it is required, nothing else. And so we may not be able to do so many things, but at least this one thing we can be able to do. And that is the essence of all hearing. And that's why Prahlad Maharaj gave the 9 processes of devotional service. Savanam, Kirtanam. You hear, and if we are actually hearing, it will result into Kirtanam. We'll be able to chant. And if we chant, Smaranam will come. We'll be able to remember. And all other advanced process of advancement of 9 processes of bhakti will manifest. But it starts from hearing. And that is why this Sangha is so beautiful. That when we constantly come together like this and constantly hearing, Master applies you about you just by hearing. But that hearing is not going to be enough. And that's why I said all that is trouble to us is almost eradicated because it requires you to chant. When you chant, then it will be completely removed. Completely, it becomes removed. But first thing is that at least you don't need anything to hear anything. And technology has made everything so easy. Even if you cannot read the books, at least, my brother, we have so many gadgets. Prabhupada said, if someone read for 1 hour Bhagavatam daily, take prasadam, chant the holy name, go to this holy place, is assured, after quitting this body, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. And that is available on our mobile phones. And every person has it. So what is the excuse for not going back home, back to Godhead in this life? That is the highest level of foolishness. Hare Krishna. So I would like to stop here. And if there are questions, comments, contributions, devotees, please kindly come forward. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the service.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much,
Hare.
Salika Prabhu. As always, that's a very beautiful rendering of service to Srimad Bhagavatam. We would like to first apologize to devotees who are here because they came to listen to His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj. We apologize that Maharaj could not be here. And because Srimad Bhagavatam has to go on, His Grace Salika Prabhu, as he usually does and does it so beautifully, stepped in few hours of notifying him, and then he came in to speak. So we hope that next time when Maharaj has to speak, he will be here. So when you come in, you see him and have his darshan. So our apologies for Maharaj not being here. With that being said, anyone with questions, comments, reflections, like we always do, our speaker already announced that. Please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your questions. Sadhita Prabhu, yes, please give me unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, your grace. Please can you accept my respectful obeisances, so gratitude to the Prophet of God, and all growth to you, and all growth to wonderful Assembled devotees. Your grace, thank you so much for this wonderful class. I pray to Krishna to give you more knowledge to give to us, because it's so amazing how if the speaker is not there, you'll be able to stand in and do what you are doing to enlighten so much with the class and your knowledge. It's so amazing. You said one thing which caught my attention about what your friend was saying about our platform, that we have a lot of devotees in Africa, but look at the numbers here. We have a lot of devotees in Ghana, we have a lot of devotees in Nigeria. But look at people who are here. And sometimes also we see it in so many places. Even in Islam, it is there. In Christianity, I can say not much, but is it because that you become so familiar to the religion which does not make it serious, or is it because we are in Kali Yoga? To me, when I come to Krishna consciousness, I always thank Krishna so much for bringing me here, because I'm beginning to a lot of questions which I was asking myself every day when I come to this class. I'm beginning to have the answers, and even if I've heard the answers before, it adds more to it. And in my heart, I become so happy, and I feel that I'm in a very, 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 very right place. I'm saying this because most of the time, you have the same background. If you come from different religion like Islam, Christianity, when you're beginning to follow the Krishna consciousness, everybody thinks that you are worshiping idols. And like you said, people will begin, what is the strange thing that you are doing? And it's so amazing and so beautiful how we feel inside when we hear Krishna Katal. So I'm not perfect. I don't know anything, but sometimes we begin to wonder that why is it that people who are so enlightened, who know more, it becomes like this, that they don't take it so serious. Why is it like that, Your Grace? This is my question.
Thank you so much, I'm Sadita Prabhu. You said so many things, wonderful things in the course of your question. And it's reminding me so many wonderful things. I will try to answer your question, but I just wanted to share one pastime. Actually, before I share the pastimes, you know, when you in the course of your question, like I said, you said so many wonderful things. And actually, maybe consciously or unconsciously, you are giving the testimony of the viability, of the authenticity of the Bhagavatam. Because when we read verse like Master Aprayisu Abadrisu, Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. So sometimes it sounds like a theory. But when you speak like this, it makes us realize that it's actually working, it's reality. Because it is not Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parishit now. And it also says, it shows how Bhagavatam is perfect because it does not really matter as long as Bhagavatam is spoken in the association of Vaishnavas, that it takes its effects on the hearer of such persons. And that is why in devotional service, sincerity is emphasized so grossly, because that is where it happens. And when one is sincere in his art, even when it does things imperfectly, it delivers the perfect results. In perfect question, perfect answers. Brahmananda Prabhu asked the Prabhupada, after hearing Prabhupada, after some point, he asked Prabhupada whether he was perfect. And Srila Prabhupada said, I'm not perfect. But whatever I say to you is perfect because it's spoken by the perfect person. So when you speak, as you're speaking, I'm releasing your testimony because it is a conviction to me and maybe other persons that are hearing you asking this question sincerely, that this process is authentic. And if one practices it, and that is why I said I was remembering a past time. I was just a bhakta, I think just a little bit before my first initiation. I was a bhakta, I think that was just early, I think I took initiation in February of 94. Okay, I think that was January 1994, something like that. But I remember I've not taken initiation that year. There was a lady that came to the temple for inquiries. We went on Arinam at Oshodi in Lagos, and we went to deliver Arinam with distributed books. So this particular lady was a housewife who was having a challenge with her married life. So she followed devotees to the temple. She didn't come in the same vehicle with us, but she took the address in the book. So as we were arriving the temple, she came. And the temple president in Jayala Jata then, okay, the bookshop was being managed by His Holiness Bhakti Damodar Swami that time. I think, who was the temple president that time? Bhakti Maharaj was in the BBT shop. So, but because we just came from Arena, he went into the bathroom to clean up. So this person was supposed to go to see him, but because he was busy trying to clean up, so I had to start speaking with her. And this woman started talking about her marital problems, sharing with me. All the while, I never knew that Maharaj, then Parikshit Prabhu, then I never knew he was already finished. He was sitting in his room because we were sitting in the front of his office and the table on a small desk that was there. I was talking to the woman so that while she waits for him to speak with him.
So I started talking to the woman about sex life. And I didn't know what I was saying because I was just repeating whatever I've read in Prabhupada's book. But something happened. What happened was that by the time I finished speaking, that woman said something, just like you're giving some testimony now. After I spoke everything I said to the lady said, so then what is the use of this sex life? And when she said that, she wasn't saying it just casually. She said it with a lot of realization and emotion. So what is this thing about sex life? And when she said that, it was so emotionally sound and loud that Parikshit Prabhu then in the shop could not hide his feelings. He busted out laughing and he shouted my name. So that was when I became to know that he was already listening to all the conversation we were having. Then he called, so we went, I said, oh, Prabhu has finished. Let us go inside the shop. So we went to the shop. Then he said, wait, don't go out first. He said, I heard all that you are speaking to this woman. So when the woman left, Maharaj called me and he said, Salika, you didn't know what you were telling that woman. He said, do you know, the woman did not know the time she said that I bet you that woman, if she's not becoming a devotee in this lifetime, you have changed her perception for life about sex life. And I didn't do that. I did not do that. I was only repeating from Prabhupada. I was even a bhakta as at that time. But because the Prabhupada and Krishna teachings were perfect, so they have the efficacy, they have the potency to deliver whoever listening to them. So now to your question about why is it that so many people who seemingly have come to the path of bhakti, devotional services, especially Krishna consciousness, they're still not attracted to Krishna? The answer is simple, but I will share another story to explain it to you so that it can have a meaning. There was this very good Samaritan man. He was traveling. And as he was traveling, he was going on the bush path. And when it was getting dark, he got to some place and he saw that there was a fire burning. At that particular, he didn't know the cause of that fire. And he said, oh, maybe somebody has lighting fire here to come to take shelter or something, but he has left. I'll use this place to take warmth. And when I take my warmth, at least I can stay for the night. So as he goes closer to the fire, about to sit down, then he realizes something, that some movement was there in the fire. So he became more curious, and he goes closer, and he saw in that fire burning, a snake was burning in the fire. And because he's generally a very good person, instinctively, he just put his hand in the fire and tried to bring the snake out. And because the snake was already suffering agony of pain, so the snake bit his hand. And immediately the snake bit his hand. What do you expect? The man was supposed to be attending to that. But the man did not look at the hand that was bitten by a snake. He was shaking his hand out of the pain of the snake, but he started looking around. And as he was looking around, he saw a long stick, and he went ahead, picked the stick, and used it to raise that snake and throw the snake out of the fire. The snake crawled there for some time, and after some time, the snake went away. The life of the snake was saved. Yep. It was at that moment the man came to realize that the person that lighted the fire was close by. He only lighted the fire and hid himself because of security. And he came down from the tree he was hiding. He said to the man, what kind of a human being are you? I was watching everything as was happening. And I saw that you came here, you saw this snake, and you were about to remove it. And the snake bit you. But instead of you attending to a snake, or leave the snake to die, or even try to kill it inside his fire, you went to look for a stick and remove the snake. And I saw the snake got saved. So what kind of a person are you? I've never seen a person like this in my life. And the man answered, he said, my dear sir, it is the nature of the snake to bite as a way of protection whenever it sees danger. The snake does not know my intention to save it. It just responded according to its nature. He said, but my nature is to save. My nature is to compassionately help anyone I find in a need. And I saw the snake in a need at that moment for its life. So I just did that. So he said that is why I'm not bothered by the nature of the snake's bite. And the man said, you are such an extraordinary human being. I've never seen a person like you. And he started tending to his snake bite. How does this relate to your question? The reality is that all of us may wear dhoti. We all may be wearing tilak. We all may be hearing Bhagavatam. We all may be sitting in the class. We may even be carrying the japa beads together. We even opening our mouth and closing it. But one who is actually hearing and chanting is known by how he responds to devotional activities. So when you see that some persons, maybe due to some enmity with other devotees, or due to whatever circumstances, are not attracted to the cause of listening to Bhagavatam, it is only showing you who they are, where they are, their level of advancement. An advanced person is known by how he is constantly satatam kritayanto mam. Is always desirous, is always in the mood of hearing and chanting the glories of. That is how you know the pure devotees. That is why you know an advanced devotee. That is why you know a devotee that is progressing in spiritual life. When I was growing up, in my early days in devotional service, when I wake up early in my early days in devotional service, I will always wake up by 2 a.m. ahead of every devotee because I do kind of service. But I noticed something I never knew. My spiritual master was always monitoring that whenever he was around. And it was one day I had the opportunity to massage his feet. So I started asking some questions to him. What happened was that I was massaging Maharaj's feet. And because I'm not trained, I do not know the art. So I was massaging his feet with too much of hardness. And he told me, Salika Prabhu, do it gently. You are hurting me instead of massaging my feet. And I said, Gurudev, I'm sorry. I actually do not know how to serve. Please. And he said to me something very outstanding, which I remembered as I was answering your question. He said, there is hope for you in devotional service because I noticed during the class, you never sleep. So someday, you're able to know so many things because you are always attentive when I'm giving class. And that thing, I never forget it all my life. I didn't know what I was doing, but the spiritual master was noticing that. That was my enthusiasm from the beginning of my devotional service. And that is what I still keep to today. But how it came about, I don't know. So, devotional service is not a magical thing or miracle. All of these wonderful devotees you see on the platform listening here, Sir Dev Prabhu has not slept since yesterday. He has worked all night and he's here sitting down. He has the option and he does this on every daily basis, Mondays to Friday. There are some times that when he comes, nature will take over. And while he's struggling to be awake, he will doze off. And our great mother, Loka. And that is one another good quality that Krishna should give everyone who wants to be a Grihasta, a mother like Mother Loka. And she will go and say, Prabhu, it's time for your service. And even when he wasn't awake, he knows how to pinch him to put him in a wakeful state. And Saturday Prabhu will stay Mondays to Friday. And all of these devotees you see here, Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu have a great enough excuse. The time that we fixed this Bhagavatam class to, we didn't start with this timing. We started with a 9 a.m. Nigerian time. Now it is 4 p.m. Nigerian local time and different times on other places. But when we decided to choose this time, Vara Acharya Prabhu realized that it was the time he goes out every day to give food for life. And that was enough. He was doing service. He's not doing some other things, not doing some other bodily engagement. He's doing devotional engagement. And that was enough for him not to appear in Bhagavatam class. But every Mondays to Friday, you will see him here. This is the symptom of a person who is hearing Bhagavatam. So we may all be hearing, we may all be carrying the beats, but the symptoms of a person who is hearing Bhakti, Katha, will be manifest in how he develops attraction and attention to hearing the Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's really, really, really amazing. And as you said, Prabhu, Anandina Prabhu is really, really, really amazing devotee because he is in Africa, he is in Ghana. Always he's here. I remember sometime I tried to make some excuses because I'll be driving. And I began to ask myself, is just Govinda, if we see the truck he's driving, here, the grace of the Prabhu, like you said, you don't sleep at night, but you still
Yeah, your voice is breaking.
Well, Salika Prabhu, thank you so much for the Katha and of course the beautiful answer to Sarita Prabhu's question. I have a question, but I would like to say something briefly about Sarita Prabhu's question and your response. We're all trying to learn, and there seems not to be a better teacher than experience, and especially if the experience was a very bad one. So there was a time it was a Sunday, Gurudev had come. I think I've said this here before. Gurudev had come to Ghana, excuse me, and he was going to give initiation on that Sunday afternoon. So the Sunday morning, we did daily greetings, Guru Puja, and I led the kirtan. So Gurudev had given him initiation the previous year. So when he came back, for some reason, of course, it's not uncommon. He had forgotten my name at that material moment. So he asked one of my godbrothers, what's his name? So he mentioned my name. So at the end of the kirtan, Gurudev called me, said, Sahade, I would like you to lead this afternoon's kirtan. And my head was swollen because there were better kirtaniers than me. But Gurudev said I should lead the kirtan because of how I led the kirtan that morning. And for no reason, at the time it was time for the afternoon program, I had lost my voice. And I cried so bitterly. And Gurudev also didn't ask me what happened. He appointed somebody else to lead the kirtan. But I understood I lost my voice because of false ego. So, yes, it is very wonderful that devotees can come together and share, discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, of all scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam. But devotees should also be very, very careful to understand that because we are here trying to share Bhagavatam, we are any better than anybody else. That would be very disastrous. Very disastrous. Like I was saying, I'm saying this from experience, and it was a very painful, bitter one. So it's very difficult to forget. No, you may try to remember to forget, but you still cannot forget. And two, I also understand that it is a matter of taste. You know, if someone likes a particular food and that food is cooked, you would like to eat it. If you don't like the taste of the food, you wouldn't like to eat it. So those who have some taste in Bhagavatam, they would like to hear Bhagavatam. Not just reading, they would like to hear from others. That is why, like Hamsadutta Prabhu himself was saying, he is here, all these devotees who are here day in, day out, nobody speaks. They only come to hear. Sometimes, if someone is moderating, somebody may see him and then the speaker. But there are so many amazing devotees who are here all the time. Nobody sees them, sometimes nobody even hears them, but they are here to hear. And if there was no sense of taste, how will they be here? There is some taste. I also checked it out some few days ago that Srimad Bhagavatam is so unique from all other scriptures that very few devotees will actually be attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like the parrot likes palm fruit, but the parrot does not like unripened palm fruit. So it said Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. So not many people, not many devotees will be attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. But the few that have the taste should try to continue to enjoy it and also try to share with others. And when others also taste, and if they love it, they would love to associate with Bhagavatam more and more. So that is just my little input to Hamsadutta Prabhu's beautiful question. Because yes, this platform is Hare Krishna Africa, but we oftentimes do not have many devotees from Africa attending. It's not too good, but it's okay, because it still represents Africa. And it represents Hare Krishna, and it represents Vaishnavism in this world. So that is just what I wanted to say. But this question I have, Salika Prabhu, the second verse, which is verse, I think 24.
Yeah.
Yes, text 24. Let me put it up here on the screen. And then I'll read, you help me with the answer. It says, text 24, it says, The omnipotent supreme personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmins by again roaring with this uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada opened it up by saying that Brahma and other enlightened Brahmins who know the supreme personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of his multi-incarnations. Now we know there are 4 Varanas and Ashrams. The Brahmins are the head of the Varanas. So from the statement put out here by Srila Prabhupada, why is only enlightened Brahmins highlighted here and not enlightened other Varanas, like enlightened Vaishya or enlightened Sudra? And only Brahmin. Does that mean that only Brahmins have access to Krishna? This is my bewilderment. Please help.
It is interesting. As you were saying, you took ask question. I was remembering Prabhupada's purport in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, verse 35, and which is also referenced in the First Canto 16th chapter, about 4 kinds of intelligent kind of persons. And as if I knew that was what you were going to come to. When we talked about Brahmanas, enlightened Brahmanas, they are not Brahmanas in the mode of, just in the mode of goodness. Actually, a devotee is said to be the highest Brahmin. Actually, the highest of all Brahmins is Krishna himself, and those who knows him are in the same category called Brahmins in that capacity. When we talked about Brahmin, and considered other the Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, the Sudras, it reminds me of Prabhupada's analogy of 4 kinds of intelligent persons: the lazy intelligent, busy intelligent, lazy fool, and busy fool. And Prabhupada said that the first class among them is the lazy intelligent. Lazy intelligent, and Prabhupada give an example of a chief judge in it. All of them are intelligent, just like the 4 Varnas that you are talking about. They are all intelligent people because they are in the state of human life. They are engaging in Sanat, Varnashram Dharma. So they are all highly placed people. They are not just ordinary. They are all intelligent. But Prabhupada said the first class man is the lazy intelligent man. And Prabhupada used the analogy of a chief judge. A chief judge is seemingly not doing so many things. He's sober, and he is the highest paid in the whole of the judiciary system. Why? If you look at who does more work in the judicial system, justice, the clerk, court clerk, and all of them under him, in fact, the lawyers, they are all doing a lot of work. But because these persons, their intelligence are not based on passion. And Prabhupada said, the busy fool
he gave an example of the monkey. The monkey is very intelligent animal, but it's always jumping here and there and then trying to do so many things. In the same way, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, it's not like they are not. They are within the Varna ashram. But only a Brahmana. Why is it that only the Brahmanas are meant to teach? Because the quality they have is synonymous to qualification of being able to understand transcendental subject matter. Arjuna had to be brought to the platform of a Brahmin to act as a Kshatriya. When Arjuna started talking to Krishna about the situation, he was talking like a Kshatriya. He was talking about his duty. He was talking about the responsibility, what a Kshatriya should do. But a Brahmana, like Bhrigu Party, when he was sent to find out who is the most celebrated, who should be among the three Purushas, Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. Mentally, he insulted Shiva, Brahma. Physically, he insulted Lord Vishnu. But even though Lord Vishnu was physically influenced, but the reactions. So the Brahmanas, by nature, they have the qualification for understanding the transcendental subject matter. But a Kshatriya works with passion, mixed sometimes with goodness, or sometimes passion mixed with ignorance, depending on the class of the Kshatriya. A Vaishya works under the influence of the modes of passion, and most of the time ignorance. But one has to transcend all of that to come to a Brahmanical level. Then you can come to transcendental Brahmanical level to be able to understand Krishna, because Krishna cannot be understood. And that is why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected the Varna and Ashram. Even though they were very highly elevated, just like the four kinds of the intelligent example Prabhupada gave. They are intelligent, they are within the Varna and Ashram. But to understand Krishna, and as we will see in this verse that you quoted now, 24, as we go down, you realize, because when something happens, the way one responds to it determines the level of that person's advancement. You hear the elevated people of the general locals, Satya Loka, they all started singing praises of Lord Varad Dev, because they are in that mood of transcendence. They are in the higher level of goodness, so they could understand. But Arjuna, although Arjuna is Nara, like we said before, but because he was acting like a Kshatriya, and the nature of a Kshatriya is that it's passion. So unless one transcends that, he cannot understand. The Supreme Personality of God, it cannot be understood under the influence of the three modes of material nature. One has to transcend. And that is why Srila Prabhupada said, not just Brahmanas, he said enlightened Brahmanas, because they are transcendental. They have drive beyond just being a Brahmana, which is on the platform of goodness. They are enlightened because they already understand the purpose behind Brahmanical qualities. Because a Brahmana's quality, as mentioned in the Bible, 12 qualities, culminates in his knowledge. And that is why he's able to teach. And when he transcends that level, he's able to, by that cultivation of knowledge, he's able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the other ashrams, like you said, the Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, and the Sudras, although they are within the Varnashram, it signifies that with Varnashram, perfection of Varnashram, one can still not come to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why the story of the 4 classes of intelligent men come to mind as you were asking your question, because they were all intelligent. But Prabhupada said, the busy intelligent, the lazy fool is even worse, the Shudra. Because, and the Prabhupada said, and this unfortunately, our modern government and leaders of the world are below even lazy fools. And so therefore, there is so much of troubles all over the world. So it is not that the Kshatriya, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras are not elevated. They are highly elevated. But to understand Krishna and his appearance, one has to be on the platform of goodness first and transcend. And that is why it is said, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita 18:54, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Na Soshati, Na Kankshati, Samasaveshu Bhukteshu, Madbhatim Labate Param. That until and when one rises above anchoring lamentation, one is completely free from the 3 modes of material nature. Only then can one understand Krishna. And then he can start serving Krishna in that capacity. So as we hear from text 35 downward, you will see the response of the enlightened Brahmanas, because they already know. And that is my understanding of why it is used there as enlightened Brahmanas, because they are on the transcendental goodness, so they can understand Krishna. But even as a Brahmana, one cannot understand Krishna fully unless one comes to the transcendental goodness. And that is why Prabhupada used the word enlightened Brahman. Brahmanas like. In other words, there can be general Brahmanas, but Brahmanas are not just Brahmanas. There are different categories of Brahmanas. Brahmanas like, and that Prabhupada used the word, Brahmana like Brahma and the enlightened Brahmanas. In other words, all of the Brahmanas are not equal. So one could be a Brahmana, but if he's not an enlightened Brahmana or transcendental Brahmana, to use the right word, he will still not be able to understand Krishna, nor can he be able to serve Krishna. That is my understanding of Prabhupada's purpose there.
Understood. Thank you so much for the explanation. Very much clarified. Anyone else with something to ask or to share before we bring this to a final closure? Well, we keep reminding the devotees, I can't believe this, that there is only one day away from having the opportunity to render a little bit of service to a Grace Ladini Devi. So again, we're encouraging devotees to share the word with all loved individuals to try to participate in this wonderful Sangha, where we have the opportunity to hear and associate with this great Vaishnavi, Grace Ladini Devi, which is going to take place on Friday. And wherever your geographical location may be, if you are a regular attendant to this platform, we're going to start 1 hour earlier. In other words, my time will start at 11. So that day we're going to start at 10. If your time says 4 p.m., it's going to start 3 p.m. So the times are also indicated in the flyers. So the times are exactly as they appear in the flyers. So we thank you all, and His Grace SALIKA Prabhu, we can't thank you enough. We can only attempt to echo what His Grace Samsaduta Prabhu originally said. We are praying to Guru and Krishna to bless you more and more, so you can also share more and more. So
Jai Hare.
on this note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us all. As always, Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatariyascha kripa sindhya ivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glories to His Grace Salika Prabhu ki jai. All glories to Vishnu Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the Vaishnavi devotees ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm the host.